What's good, royal family? It's Queen's Throne, and I'm back at you again for another video. Now, this case is just as damaging as the last. A Florida mother and her boyfriend are facing charges in an alleged child abuse case. Police say a second child, who is 9 years old, was also tortured and abused by the both of them. Police discovered the case after Kimberly Mills brought her 10-year-old son to the hospital with bruises and burns all over his body. The 10-year-old is currently in critical condition. The Tavares Police Department revealed that Kimberly Mills, the mother of the two boys, and her boyfriend, Andre Walker, would face additional charges related to the alleged abuse of both boys. Now, y'all are not gonna believe this, but Kimberly Mills is allegedly a registered nurse, meaning she went to med school and literally became a registered nurse and thought that it would be appropriate to allegedly abuse her children like this. Now, when she brought her child to the hospital, she was currently giving CPR to her son at the time. I don't know if Andre was driving, but shortly after, the nurses took over and she disappeared right after Walker. Now, although the police know that Kimberly Mills is a registered nurse, they are unaware at the time of the press conference and news clips whether she actually is still working as a registered nurse, or if she is working as a registered nurse, where she is currently working at. Police had stated that Kimberly Mills is really not trying to give them any information, especially about Andre Walker. Now, Andre Walker did turn himself in days after the mother's arrest. Now, shockingly, during the press conference, a detective did hint that the child may have been sexually assaulted, but because of the child's condition, they could not do a rape kit or any further investigation into the possible sexual abuse of the child at this time. Now, Kimberly Mills, the quote-unquote mother, is charged with 2 counts of aggravated child abuse, 2 counts of child neglect, 1 count of tampering with evidence, and 2 counts of accessory to aggravated child abuse. Now, Andre Walker, the quote-unquote mom's boyfriend, is being charged with 2 counts of aggravated child abuse, 2 counts of accessory to aggravated child abuse, and 1 count of tampering with evidence. Now, the 10-year-old is in critical condition. Detectives say that he is literally fighting for his life. If he does not make it, the charges on Mills and Walker will escalate, adding a possible murder charge to both of them. You guys, this case is disgusting, but let's get into the video and I'll meet you on the other side with any follow-up commentary. Let's go.
I'm Chief Sarah Corsi. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. This type of brutal crime shakes the community. The events that took place this past Saturday are deeply disturbing and heartbreaking. The pain and suffering an innocent child endured at the hands of those he trusted and loved the most. Before I turn the podium over to our PIO, Detective Sullivan, I would be remiss if I didn't ask the community to find it in their heart to keep this child, his family, in their thoughts and prayers. Detective Sullivan?
Hello, my name's Detective Sullivan. Thank you guys for being here today. February 22nd at 10 p.m., we received a phone call from Advent Health Hospital staff that they received a 10-year-old male patient that contained evidence of physical abuse. Additionally, they were performing active CPR on the child and administering life-saving measures. We learned that the child was brought in through the front door of the emergency department after arriving by vehicle with the child's mother, Kimberly Mills, and a male now identified as Andre Walker. Per hospital staff, Andre left the hospital immediately. Once Kimberly learned that law enforcement was on the way, she immediately left the hospital, all while her 10-year-old son was receiving CPR. And just so you guys are aware, this is Andre Walker, and this is Kimberly Mills. Shortly after our units arrived at the hospital, Kimberly Mills returned with her other child. Once we obtained Kimberly's information, we obtained her address, which is within our city limits. Detectives began working immediately on obtaining a search warrant for the house. Kimberly refused to cooperate with the law enforcement investigation. The 10-year-old child was eventually airlifted to a regional trauma center where hospital staff continued life-saving efforts. It is clear to our agency that this child underwent gruesome abuse. He is covered head to toe, He is covered head to toe in various size bruises that are in various stages of healing. Additionally, he is covered in burn marks. This child underwent further abuse that I am unable to discuss at this time. This 10-year-old little boy is fighting for his life. He is in critical condition, and we are unsure which direction his healing will go. There is a high possibility that these charges could be enhanced depending on his outcome. Upon serving the search warrant at the residence, detectives obtained several pieces of pertinent evidence. This evidence told a story of what this child went through, and we believe will help piece together what occurred prior to them arriving at the hospital. To put it plainly, this child was tortured. I'm happy to say that shortly before this press conference, we learned Andre Walker turned himself into the Lake County Jail. Detectives in the community still have questions, and now that we know Andre Walker has turned himself in, detectives will be making contact with Andre Walker. We are hopeful that some of these questions will be answered. Detectives have put countless hours and continue to put all of their efforts towards this investigation. We want justice for this 10-year-old boy, and due to this being an open investigation, certain details cannot be released to or discussed to maintain integrity to this case. At this time, I'm willing to answer some questions.
Apparently this does not seem to be a one-time thing.
Based off of the bruises that we found in various stages of healing, no, we don't believe this is a one-time thing.
Can you say how long you think the abuse is going back?
It's hard to say, but that's something we hope to find answers to.
Was the other boy, did he have any signs, he or she have any signs of abuse?
That's something that hopefully today we'll have answers to that as well.
Has Andre been cooperative? Have you guys had an opportunity to talk to him at all?
Due to him just recently turning himself in, we're hoping that we can get some of those, any questions that we have for him, that he'll be willing to answer that. So hopefully by the end of today.
If you could talk a little bit about, and you started speaking to, like how the boy who is being treated, how he is doing at this very moment.
At this very moment, he remains to be in critical condition. It's hard to say what direction he's going to go. He's fighting for his life.
Has the mother been cooperative at all? She had statements you were able to share with us?
She did not wish to speak with us.
Is there any history with this family? Do you guys have a call history at that home, or is there a DCF history with this family?
So we checked with DCF. We did not see any recent or any contact with DCF reports or anything like that. We did do a call history at the residence. There was one recent call where mom called in with questions about the 10-year-old boy.
You didn't respond out there though?
No, it was a call that could be handled over the phone.
Was there any signs of sexual abuse with this 10-year-old boy?
Some details of the investigation I can't say, but I will have you read in between the lines.
The relationship between Mills, Kimberly and Andre, are they a couple? Are they related? What's their relationship?
Sure. So because she wasn't very forthcoming with her relationship with him or him at all, we're still trying to piece together his relationship to her.
Has there been any outside contact with other family in regards to the little boy that's being treated, and any distant relatives?
So biological dad, he lives out of state. He was immediately notified and was immediately able to come down to be with his two sons.
And can you speak at all to what you may have seen inside the house upon the search warrant?
Enough that we are able to paint a certain picture that leads us to believe this little boy was tortured.
Was the boy in school outside the home?
Yes.
He was going
He attended school, yes.
Talking about what you were able to take from the home is, and what has helped you piece together this investigation. I know we talked about burns. Is there anything that you can give us to give an indication of how he might have been burned?
Not without losing the integrity of the case.
If you could speak to the emotions, because I know I spoke to a neighbor, obviously very shocked. Us seeing the details, very shocking, and I see raw emotions during the press conference.
Mm-hmm. Ask your question one more time.
Your emotions.
My emotions. So I'm a mother. A lot of us are parents at this agency. So to hear and Based off of what we've seen, obviously this is heartbreaking. As parents, we protect our children. We'll protect anyone's child. So to learn that this child was supposed to be protected and wasn't, obviously is devastating and gut-wrenching. So personally, it's difficult, as you saw. I tried to keep my cool, I'm sorry. So.
For the biological father, what was kind of his reaction? You said he was able to immediately come. What was his reaction, if you can speak to it at all?
If you were to imagine your child undergoing something like this and what your reaction would be, was his reaction. And a very reasonable reaction from a parent that loved their child.
Is he the father of the other child?
Yes, yes.
Was he married to Kimberly?
I don't know. Anyone else? Okay, thank you guys for being here.
A little boy is on life support after serious abuse, which police say happened at the hands of his mother and a man who has since turned himself in.
Both are now behind bars. David, we are told those charges could be upgraded depending on the boy's outcome.
Yeah, and look, that tells you the extent of these serious injuries, what this 10-year-old little boy went through inside of this home behind me, which does remain taped off even as we head into the night with Tavares police still on scene. Police were able to search the home and found enough evidence to build a case of serious child abuse.
This 10-year-old little boy is fighting for his life.
Emotions running high in this small community.
The events that took place this past Saturday are deeply disturbing and heartbreaking. It is clear to our agency that this child underwent gruesome abuse. He is covered head to toe in various size bruises that are in various stages of healing.
It all happened Saturday night. Police say the boy was dropped off at the hospital by his mother, Kimberly Mills, who was still performing CPR. She was accompanied by 36-year-old Andre Walker. Hospital staff took over CPR. Mills and Walker left. Mills returned a short time with her other child. Walker was nowhere to be found. Staff told police they didn't know whether the boy would live. He was covered with bruises and burns across his body.
Can't imagine at all.
Neighbors reeling following the news.
Shocked. I would never expect him. It's a quiet neighborhood. I never expected.
Mary Phillips lives next door. She knows the family and the boys.
They just started to mow my lawn.
She says everything seemed fine, and Walker was a new face in the area.
If you gave birth to him, how could you beat him up? That's why I keep thinking that the man must have been more involved. I don't know.
Police say they do not believe the abuse to be a one-time thing. They did not have any calls to report abuse in the past, nor did Department of Children and Families. When I asked whether signs of sexual abuse were present,
some details of the investigation I can't say, but I will have you read in between the lines.
And a search of the Florida Department of Health website also reveals Mills holds an active license as a registered nurse. The little boy's biological father has flown in to be with his sons. Both Walker and Mills are being held this evening at the Lake County Jail. The Tavares police is asking that the pair be held without bond.
All right, so thank you everyone for coming. My name's Detective Courtney Sullivan. I'm a detective here with Tavares Police Department. I'm joined here with our lieutenant over the Criminal Investigations Division. We as a group have been working diligently in this case. Here at our department, we wanted to provide the community with an update on our child abuse investigation that began February 22nd, 2025. Detectives have conducted numerous interviews and collected several pieces of evidence, and through this process, it has been revealed that there is more than one victim in this case. The younger brother in this case was also a victim of aggravated child abuse and child neglect. We will not go into details on what took place in the residence due to maintaining the integrity of the case. Kimberly Mills was methodical in what her children wore and what they said to others to ensure that absolutely no one would learn of what she was doing to her children behind closed doors. That being said, all fingers should be pointed in one direction at Kimberly Mills and Andre Walker, who participated together in hurting these children. Earlier this morning, we added additional charges on both Kimberly Mills and Andre Walker. For Kimberly Mills, she has been charged in total with the following: 2 counts of aggravated child abuse, 2 counts of child neglect, 2 counts of accessory to aggravated child abuse, 1 count of tampering with evidence. For Andre Walker, he has been charged in total with the following: facing 2 counts of aggravated child abuse, 2 counts of accessory to aggravated child abuse, 1 count of tampering with evidence. The 10-year-old boy remains in critical condition at the hospital. We are preparing for the worst, however, we are hoping for the best in terms of his recovery. We are working closely with the state attorney's office to ensure these 2 boys get the justice that they deserve. We commend our department as a whole, as every member has stepped up to assist in some way with this case. We ask that you continue to pray for these 2 boys, their father, and the rest of their family as they navigate this extremely difficult time. We have posted a link on our Facebook for others to donate, and we are also accepting gift card donations that will be given directly to the family. At this point, I will take any questions.
Can you talk about the kind of abuse that the 9-year-old had suffered? Was it similar to the abuse that the 10-year-old had, and any details that you could share on that?
I can't go into too much detail. However, we believe that they suffered very similar abuse, and that's why they were both charged, or both parties were charged with 2 counts of aggravated child abuse.
Can you explain the family dynamic? Were these long-term parents? Were they recently in the picture? Do you know how long this abuse had taken place?
Sure. So right now, we've determined that Kimberly Mills and Andre Walker are in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. We believe that it has been approximately 2 months. It's possible that it could be a little bit longer than that. Unsure of when the abuse started. However, it's leaning more towards that it was a recent period of time.
So 2 months that they were dating and not sure how long the abuse had been going on.
Unsure about how long the abuse has gone. However, we believe maybe about 2 months. It could be longer. We're still trying to dig further to figure that out.
You said that she was very meticulous in the clothes she put on them. Explain that.
So when the kids would go to school, they would wear longer sleeve shirts to cover up any marks. She ensured that they told absolutely no one. These kids were scared, and she made sure that absolutely no one would find out about it.
Did they go to school? They went to school?
Yes, they went to school.
And teachers didn't report this because?
They didn't report it because they had no idea something was going on. Again, Kimberly Mills made absolute certainty, made sure that these kids were not going to tell teachers and that no one would find out. So
You talked about the 2 different suspects in this case. She was the one that drove this and orchestrated it, is your understanding?
They both participated completely.
Have they been in the care of Kimberly their entire lives, and does it seem like the abuse started when the boyfriend and her got together?
So that's something that we're still trying to navigate through. I definitely believe that we'll have further information in that with time.
But she was the primary caretaker for them.
They lived with mom. Dad lives out of state.
Can you explain the tampering with evidence charge?
So we believe that whenever they left the hospital, they went back to the residence to try to do a hasty cleanup. I'm happy to say that they did a really bad job because we were able to obtain several pieces of evidence that will definitely assist our case.
The report said it looked like something hot had been put on the 10-year-old. Do we know what that was to cause burn marks?
So we're not going to discuss any pieces of evidence that we collected.
What school did the 10-year-old go to?
Not disclosing that.
You talked about wanting to get the justice that they deserve.
Right.
Working with the state attorney's office. This case is so horrific. Why has that been so important for your investigators, detectives, and I know you guys have been working really hard on this case, especially seeing the circumstances here.
So we all become police officers to help the community, right? As detectives, we look for convictions. We don't look just to charge someone with something. We put an entire case together to piece it together to ensure that the people that we put in jail stay in jail. This case is especially sensitive because it's kids. Don't mess with kids. Period. As parents, we will make sure that we will do whatever it takes to keep our children safe, but because we're also parents, any other child, we will try to do our best to keep them safe, and that's our job.
Did you say that she's a registered nurse?
Yes, we discovered that she's also a registered nurse. We have not been able to figure out exactly where she works, or if she is still currently working as a registered nurse.
I'm just, this is blowing everyone's minds. Where possibly were they coming from? A mother participating in this kind of abuse, allowing her boyfriend to do this kind of, just your thoughts.
My thoughts, I can't quite piece it together. Again, as a mother and a decent human being, I would like to think, no one can piece that part together. I think it's a perfect representation of the kind of people that they are, and I think they are exactly where they need to be, and I hope that they remain there. Our agency is doing everything we can to make sure that they stay there.
So to follow up on that, I noticed in the in Kimberly's affidavit, it sounds like she's talking to you guys a little bit. Are either of them cooperating? Are they giving you any information?
Neither of them are cooperating. They both opted to not speak with us.
Do you find it unusual for, these kids are 9 and 10, she's only been with this guy for 2 months. That's pretty severe treatment over those 2 months. For her to, if that's only started in the last 2 months, doesn't it seem that she would have some sort of reaction or want to help in the case if that's not her normal type of activity?
You would think that any mother would not allow that kind of activity, so who knows, maybe this occurred before he was in the picture. That's something that we're going to discover, I think, throughout our investigation, but I think it also clears a really perfect picture of the kind of person that she is. No mother would allow this to happen.
I saw in an early interview, this case brought me close to tears.
I mean, yeah, that is difficult. I mean, our detective division is small. We have 3 detectives and our lieutenant. So we work closely with one another. We're human. And unfortunately, I had a moment and it happened to be in front of all the cameras. Not my shining moment, but I mean, I think it's a perfect representation for absolutely everyone to see that us police officers are human. We're parents, we're human, and we just do what we can, so.
I know the real dad is here now.
Right.
Do you know how they're doing? I know obviously the 10-year-old's in critical condition.
I can't imagine what dad is going through to have just learned that this was going on and now his son is in critical condition. I don't want to be in his shoes. However, he's doing what he needs to do to ensure that they are taken care of and that he's making all the best decisions for them. Our community has already started to try to pull together to figure out ways that they can help. We're working closely with the Tavares Police Charity to raise funds for the family. Additionally, we're accepting gift cards on the family's behalf so just clothes even. The little boy doesn't have any clothes right now. We recently were able to get out and get them some clothing. Dad flew down here in a rush, didn't pack a bag, so we also were having to get him some clothing. So I think gift cards would help. I posted on our Facebook page today a direct link that goes to our charity, and all of those funds will go towards the family.
Neither of these boys had clothes?
They had clothes within the house. The house is currently sectioned off as a crime scene, so.
Where does this case go from here? Are there still unanswered questions? Are you, as of right now, just waiting on the boy's condition? What's ahead?
So naturally we want to see where the boy's condition is going to go. We are, again, hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst. From here, we're going to dive into all the evidence that we have, and we're going to just streamline this to the best of our ability to make sure they stay where they are right now. But we're working hard. If we have to add more charges because more information comes about, we will happily do so. I'm going to take one more question.
There's a new law passed that puts the death penalty in play if it's a child rape case. Could this be in play?
So because our victim is still in critical condition, we have not been able to disclose any details regarding the sexual abuse. Because of his condition, there's certain physical examinations that cannot be performed. So we cannot definitively say if it occurred, but if it has occurred, once we are able to do those examinations, naturally those charges will be brought to. I do appreciate you all coming. Thank you so much, and we'll keep you posted on anything else. Thank you.
The man accused of beating a little boy and then leaving him at a hospital before police arrived is now in jail. Andre Walker was arrested this afternoon.
Yeah, Walker seen here and that boy's mother are charged with child abuse.
And the unfortunate thing about the situation, police said today that they are not sure if this 10-year-old is going to survive. And these are shocking accusations because police also say that the boy's mom is a registered nurse. An alleged house of horrors.
To put it plainly, this child was tortured.
And Tavares police believe the boy's mom, Kimberly Mills, and this man, Andre Walker, are responsible.
This 10-year-old little boy is fighting for his life. He is in critical condition, and we are unsure which direction his healing will go.
According to the arrest report, Mills and Walker showed up at the hospital over the weekend because the boy wasn't breathing. Emergency staff say they also noticed bruises and burns on the boy and called police. Officers say Mills and Walker left the hospital when they heard law enforcement was coming as nurses continue working to revive the boy. Police say Mills eventually went back to the hospital, but Walker never returned. He turned himself into the Lake County Jail on Monday. Crime scene tape is still up at Mills' home as police investigate.
That's what I went over and said. I wasn't going to be nosy, but I'd like to know what's going on.
Neighbor Mary Phillips says she never saw signs of abuse, so hearing what may have happened in that home is shocking.
Shocked because I think the mother seemed like a very good mother and attentive.
Mills' second child was taken into custody by Child Services, and investigators are looking into whether that child was abused too. And police say in the case involving the 10-year-old child, they don't believe that this was the first time of alleged abuse. They believe that this was an ongoing situation. They say mom has not been very cooperative in interviews, but they hope to get more answers now that Walker is in custody. Both are being held at the Lake County Jail with no bond.
Just got audio of a Waterman Hospital phone call to police in Tavares letting them know about a serious case of abuse.
Yeah, police say the abuse happened at the hands of the boy's mother and another man.
Yeah, this audio is brief, but it certainly does create a very chilling picture in your mind of the serious nature of the type of abuse that this little boy endured inside of this home here on Dora Avenue in Tavares. Police calling that abuse torture. As of last check, he remains in Arnold Palmer Hospital, as police describe it, clinging to life, and they say they expect charges on the pair to be upgraded. It happened Saturday night. Kimberly Mills, the boy's mother, and Andre Walker both took the 10-year-old to the hospital. When they arrived, Mills, a nurse, was performing CPR. When staff took over, both Walker and Mills left. According to the call, Mills did not even provide a name to medical staff. She would later return with the boy's 12-year-old brother in tow, and Walker nowhere to be found. We're going to play you a snippet of that audio now after a staff member tells police a little boy had arrived in cardiac arrest with clear signs of abuse.
I don't know if the child is going to survive or not, so. Do they know that you've contacted law enforcement? Not that I'm aware of, but I guess Dad was here and Dad left immediately.
Important to note here, the call was based on initial information. The biological father of the two boys flew in to be with his sons. I spoke to him briefly on the phone earlier. He was understandably shaken up. The boy, meanwhile, does remain in critical condition. Police tell me that they've been conducting interviews, following up with different people, with the faculty and the parents at the boys' schools. They've also been working to try and see what kind of information they can gather from Walker. We've been staying on top of this investigation.
First at 4, the concerning call made after police say a 10-year-old boy was abused and then dropped off at the hospital.
Police say that boy is fighting for his life after his mom and another man dropped him off in Lake County with burns and bruises all over his body. Injuries, investigators say, are signs of torture.
Many others in this community are just trying to wrap their minds around the unspeakable, all while this little 10-year-old boy fights for his life in the hospital.
So to hear this, it hits hard, and it's very devastating.
A community left stunned. More questions than answers.
It's heartbroken. Couldn't believe it.
Pastor Dave Harris runs Faith Christian Fellowship in Tavares, just down the street from the home where police say the torture happened.
I don't know if the child is going to survive or not, so.
Staff at Waterman Hospital putting in the call to police over the weekend after Kimberly Mills, the mother, dropped off the boy, along with Andre Walker.
Do you know where they came from, an address or anything? No, I don't even have the child's name listed. He's currently listed as a JoJo in our system.
Mills, a registered nurse, and Walker would then leave. Mills later returned with the little boy's brother in tow. She was arrested. Walker was later arrested.
I know those boys are sweet. They're kind, they're well-mannered.
Karen Desenor runs the garden at the church.
They worked here in this garden with us quite often after school. They played with my 2 kids. I have 2 toddlers. They're very caring, very gentle, very sweet.
We have a relationship with those boys. They used to come to our youth group. So to hear that, I couldn't believe it.
Harris says the boys went to church with their grandmother.
The moment time she went back to Jamaica, the kids stopped coming.
Desenor says Walker was the mother's long-term boyfriend. She says abuse can be hard to fathom, but hopes this case will be a wake-up call to others.
Whether that's getting help, whether that's speaking up, whether you're in a situation that you need to get outside help, I pray that this is that red flag that raises it for other families who are in these situations.
Both Walker and Mills are being held this afternoon in the Lake County Jail without bond. I did briefly speak with the boys' father, their biological father, today. He flew down to be here for them. He says he's understandably devastated.
Mom of the 10-year-old boy, still in critical condition in the hospital tonight, has pleaded not guilty to child abuse charges. She and Andre Walker brought that child to Advent Health Waterman over the weekend. Police say doctors noticed severe bruising and burn marks across that boy's body. Mills is accused of child abuse. Walker already pled not guilty to being an accessory after the fact for aggravated child abuse.
Nothing short of torture is what police are calling a case where a 10-year-old boy's mother and another man dropped him off at the hospital.
The mother, Kimberly Mills, was ultimately taken to jail, but this man here, this is Andre Walker, he just turned himself in today.
That's because tragically this little boy may not survive. The Tavares Police Department say he is fighting for his life after what happened to him. You can see his home behind me here still blocked off by a Tavares police cruiser and police tape. And based on the bruises on this little boy's body, police don't believe the abuse was a one-time thing. The Tavares Police Department says they got a call Saturday night from a hospital about Kimberly Mills and Andre Walker arriving with Mills' son, who she was performing CPR on. Her son ultimately had to be airlifted to a trauma center. The police department saying it is clear the boy was the victim of gruesome abuse. Mills was arrested over the weekend on a charge of aggravated child abuse. Walker turned himself in at the Lake County Jail Monday, facing a charge of accessory after the fact aggravated child abuse. Both are being held on no bond. The Tavares Police Department says they don't believe the abuse of the boy was a one-time thing, but said there were no previous reports to the Department of Children and Families. And people who lived in their neighborhood told us they had no idea anything was going on.
I thought everything was all right, but when I seen this, I was shocked.
Not everyone in the neighborhood wanted to go on camera, but all seemed crushed a kid could be put through what this little boy was. The police department says the boy's father got here from out of state to be with him and his brother as soon as he could.
I wouldn't know what to do if that was my kid. I couldn't handle it.
Now, the police department says they were able to get some key evidence from inside this house that they think is going to be able to help them piece together what happened before this little boy was taken to the hospital. Now, we have been working to try and get more information about the 2 suspects here. We were able to confirm through a Florida Department of Health database that Mills does have an active license as a registered nurse.
So breaking in the last hour, Tavares police announced new charges against a mom and her boyfriend already accused of abusing her 10-year-old son.
Yeah, in that case, police say the boy was tortured, and now police say there's a second victim, Kimberly Mills' 9-year-old son.
Well, this case has been so traumatizing that it has put veteran detectives in tears, and now the couple is facing more charges because police say they allegedly also abused the woman's 9-year-old son. Now, this started when police say a 10-year-old boy, the first victim, was brought to the emergency room by his mom, Kimberly Mills, and her boyfriend, Andre Walker. The boy was in such bad shape, doctors were not sure they could save him. Both Mills and Walker are accused of torturing the 10-year-old. Doctors found bruises all over his body and burns. Police say one burn looked like something hot was put on his skin to cause the burn marks. Now, without giving too many details, today police say the boy's 9-year-old brother had similar signs of abuse and that in both cases their mother did everything she could wanted to hide it from everyone, including teachers.
So when the kids would go to school, they would wear longer sleeve shirts to cover up any marks. She ensured that they told absolutely no one. These kids were scared, and she made sure that absolutely no one would find out about it.
Now, as a result, charges in connection with the 9-year-old brother. The couple is now facing 2 counts of aggravated child abuse, 2 counts of accessory to aggravated child abuse, and more. Now, police also tell us that there are possible signs of sexual abuse with the 10-year-old, but that the boy is in such bad condition right now, they cannot do the examination.
Police are now accusing this Tavares couple of torturing a second little boy before dropping a 10-year-old off at the hospital on the brink of death this past weekend.
Everyone out here is praying for a miracle, but police are preparing for the worst. The second boy we've learned is the 10-year-old boy's brother. He is with family and he is doing okay.
All fingers should be pointed in one direction.
Tavares police barely containing their disgust for Kimberly Mills and Andre Walker, the girlfriend-boyfriend pair now charged with torturing 2 boys, 10 and 9, the elder still fighting for his life. They singled out Mills, who they said forced the boys to wear long-sleeve shirts to cover the marks up and tried to hide evidence.
Whenever they left the hospital, they went back to the residence to try to do a hasty cleanup. I'm happy to say that they did a really bad job because we were able to obtain several pieces of evidence that will definitely assist our case. Kimberly Mills made absolute certainty, made sure that these kids were not going to tell teachers and that no one would find out.
Sir, can you please state your name? I'm sorry?
Andre Walker. Detectives say Walker entered Mills' life 2 months ago, and the torture began around that time. Police say they're now waiting to see if the 10-year-old recovers. If not, they say more charges are ready to go.
I think they are exactly where they need to be, and I hope that they remain there. Our agency is doing everything we can to make sure that they stay there.
And they are staying in jail tonight. Walker's attorney, before these new charges hit, filed for a bond release. We'll see if that is granted. That hearing is scheduled for Tuesday. Police say neither adult is cooperating.
Now, this case right here is so sad to even hear the details of this case and what the 10-year-old boy and the 9-year-old boy went through. They stated that there are no prior CPS calls. Detectives also stated that they believe that the abuse did not just start, which they and the medical staff can see depending on the wound and the stage of the wound's healing. Kimberly covered up abuse by clothing that her children wore to school, which is a possible classic sign of child abuse, especially when a child is wearing clothing out of season, like long sleeve shirts in the spring or summer. Oftentimes, abusive parents will have their children wearing long sleeves or pants in the spring or summer to try to hide the bruises that the child has received from the parent. Now, apparently, Kimberly and Andre Walker had went and tried to clean up the scene, which is also telling. And the fact that she did not cooperate with the investigation, the police are saying, is also telling. Another thing that's telling is the fact that she did not call 911. Instead, she decided to drive her child to the hospital while apparently Andre Walker drove, and she was doing continuous CPR on her child until she got to the hospital where medical staff took over. Now, I get it. She may claim that she was, concerned about her son's well-being and had to go and pick him up, but it's interesting that she left the hospital shortly after Andre left. The fact that she's a registered nurse and could do this type of trauma on any child, let alone her own, is freaking disgusting. I think that people such as cops, judges, medical staff, clergy, and school staff, as well as the like, should be charged more severe than others in these type of cases due to the role that they play in the community. Now, they stated that as soon as the biological father of the 2 boys found out about this situation, he quickly flew to Florida so that he could be there for his children. We do not know what is the reason that he lives in another state or what type of role he plays in these children's lives. But in my opinion, and at this time, I will not really be harsh on the father. Hopefully we find out more information. But in my opinion, due to the circumstances and situations between Kimberly Mills and Andre Walker being them abusing the children, she may have been one of them type of quote unquote mothers that thinks it's okay to, cut the biological father out of the life of the kids. But there is a chance that these children would have been better off with the father. But again, at this time, we do not know much information about the biological father. But it is a good sign that he did fly in immediately upon finding out about this situation. Now, neighbors are also saying that they didn't see anything. They say that they saw Walker as a new face around that community, around that residence. And the police believe that Walker and the mom have been together about 2 months. It's really crazy to me how a woman can get with a man and just put her kids on the back burner. But as somebody that has researched these type of cases for years, I don't think that the abuse stemmed because Andre Walker was there. However, clearly he did nothing to help, and I'm definitely not saying that he did not play any part in this situation. My heart, again, is telling me that this dude is just as much trash as the mother. Now, it appears that some of the press was kind of, asking questions about the detective breaking down during the press conference. However, in my opinion, the detective breaking down was refreshing, as oftentimes police and prosecutors normally do not show any emotion, which I understand. They're there to do a job, get the information out, etc. But seeing the detective break down showed that she's a human as well as a mother, and that finding out about the details and also witnessing it, due to the fact that she's a detective, I'm sure she had to go up to the hospital and saw this child struggling for his life, which probably broke her heart as a mother. And as she had to relive and talk about the details in the press conference, she broke down and showed emotion. Now let's talk about that sexual assault situation, right? The detective kind of hinted that there is possible sexual abuse that took place with the quote unquote mother, Andre Walker, and them abusing this child. They had stated that due to the child's condition, again, this child is fighting for his life, but due to the child's condition, they will not be able to do any further investigation at this time concerning the possible sexual assault and molestation of this child, allegedly. However, I am concerned and am interested in seeing how they're going to preserve the evidence in this situation. I would hope, obviously, that they're not, doing anything to sabotage any evidence, any DNA, any pubic hairs, or anything like that. Again, we don't know to what degree the sexual assault was, far as, was there possible DNA that could be there or whatever. However, I, again, am interested in seeing how they're going to secure that evidence. I do hope that this child makes it. This child, again, is fighting for his life, and my heart goes out to him, his brother, and at this time, far as we know, the biological father and any family of the children. But Kimberly Mills and Andre Walker are definitely trash. This story is heartbreaking. I cried during editing this video. I cannot even imagine what the investigators in this case witnessed, far as, this boy and what he had went through, as well as his younger brother behind the scenes. I think that it's unfortunate that these type of things happen. It's unfortunate that this woman, as being a nurse, as being a mother, as being somebody that's job is essentially to care about others, would harm their child in this way, or in the least bit allow Andre Walker to violate and abuse her child while she sat there. However, again, I believe that she played just as much of a part in this as Andre Walker at the end of the day. However, y'all know there will be more information coming out in this situation. As they stated, if this child doesn't make it, there will be additional charges such as murder in this case, but I will stay tuned for updates. This case is truly heartbreaking. I wanted to get this to you guys. I have a whole playlist of some cases that I'm trying to both show as premieres, as well as I'll be going live soon. I'm hoping for this weekend, if not Friday, so that I can be with the royal family and go over some of these cases with you guys starting back. I miss you guys. And with that said, you guys stay you, stay royal, stay uncompromisable, and please stay woke, because you will see me or hear my voice in an upcoming live stream or edit. I do have another video that is already done. Basically, all I have to do is add my commentary, and I will get that to you guys as soon as I can. But from there, I'm going to continue to work through this playlist. I have a couple that I want to do live. However, I will see you guys soon. Much love, y'all. Bye-bye.